we did kind of talk about it last week. We didn't actually push the update until I think it was Friday after last week's meeting, but I do want to go over the external documents piece. We made several significant changes in there, even since we discussed it last week, and then we'll go on to some other things as well. So, first off, external documents. What does that mean? What is it useful for, etc.? So, there are times when either through your contacts, your properties, your listings, your transactions, or whatever, you're going to have documents that you need to reference that are linked to those records of some sort. You might have some listing documents from DocuSign, from VeriSign, all the different types of potential signing. That's not right. VeriSign. Skip that one. That's a different signing thing. But external documents, Dropbox, Google Drive, things like that. A lot of agents will set up folders for their contacts, for their listings, for their transactions, and dump a lot of documents in there. And whenever that happens, sometimes they can kind of get lost, but they kind of get stuck in this folder, and somewhat, they're usable in a way that people can access them. But if you really want to drive the conversation with those, it's tough. So, and what I mean by that is if you want to send out an email to your seller and letting them know, hey, here's a copy of your listing agreement, whatever. Well, you can definitely pull up your email. You can take that email. You can pull up a template of some sort, and you can link that URL to that email and send it. But the problem is in automation. How can we automate something if we don't know where it's at or how to reference it in the drive? And that's where it's kind of important for us to deal with these external documents. So what I want to do is I'm going to go into a listing. Let's go back into somewhere in time. I use this all the time because it's a useful one.
It's all fake data.
It's all fake data. So no big deal here. But in each one of these contacts, in the contact side, the properties, projects, if you have projects, listings, and transactions, we now have this section here called external documents. And with external documents, you can now put in the URLs of these different documents, things that you want to reference in some way. It could be the listing document, like I said, it could be disclosures and everything else. What you can do with these, though, is now you can reference it by a name, by a category of some sort. Like my listing agreement. Now, this is, I was just putting in a bogus address here. And let's say, for instance, let me go get a sample listing agreement PDF. I'm just going to go out to a, okay, so here is, I'm going to take this document and I'm going to edit this. I'm just going to put in a URL. This is some URL for some listing. It's just a sample. So by assigning it to this category, this type right here of listing agreement, I now have a name for it. And then I've got the full URL that goes along with it. The nice thing about this is I do have a little indicator, is it a signed document? So I can just mark it, is it signed? I've verified that it's signed or whatever, that's there. If I click on it, it will then open up that document and I can see what all is in that document. I can change the display order of these if I want to. If there's certain documents I want to always see at the top, I can do that. But I can do all kinds of things now with documents and have that are external to the system, but have a reference to them by name. And the by name part becomes important whenever we want to include them in our emails as attachments, links of information inside the body of the email. You may want to say, dear seller, here's a copy of your listing agreement, and then have that link to that. And if you don't have it named in some way, it could grab any document. It doesn't necessarily reference it. But by us naming it, giving it a name, we can give it a merge field, and then that merge field then can be used for things. So that's an important part. Now, how we organize these, and I'm going to go to a different one here that doesn't have anything. So you come into a listing, a property, transaction, whatever. Over here on the right-hand side is this little hamburger menu. You can click on the down arrow on it. And we've got two choices of things. We can manage our types, our document types. And if I go in here, these are all the different types of documents that I potentially could use as part of a listing. Because I'm doing this hamburger menu from the listing side, these are all listing type documents. So in this case, I've got addendum, counteroffer, floor plans, HOA docs, stuff like that. So these are just different types of documents. If I wanted to come in here and I just wanted to add a new one, just a single one-off type, maybe my listing agreement, I come over here, I paste in that same URL that I had. I can mark at this point whether it was signed or not, and then click on add, and then boom, there it is. It's done it kind of one off. I can add individual documents if I want. Now, you could do that one by one and adding in each of those documents if you wanted to. That's valid by hitting the add URL. But there are times when, especially whenever you're dealing with a listing or whatever, that there will probably be multiple documents that you want to be able to access or reference of some sort. So what we've done is not only do we create the different types, we allow you to create groups of types. So if I go in here and say manage my groups, I might have different groups. Like I might have a condo sales where anything dealing with condos, these are the different external documents that I would typically reference. Listing documents. I'm going to go into this one. We'll go into the listing documents. So these might be, for me, these are the documents that I want to have anytime that I want to select the listing, the residential listing group. I want these items here to be preloaded. Okay. And there is a little checkbox here that indicates, is it required? So having something required just means, I really need to have that link. And if I don't have that link, it's going to show it in red. We'll show that here in a second. It'll show it in red if it's not filled in. If you want to add additional types to this, you come here and click on add additional types. You select which type you want. You can add more types. If you want to add more types, you can click on the little plus there, add the additional type. It'll add it to the list, and then you can select it here. Once you select it, click on the add selections, and then it'll come into this list. Now, the reason why we have the groups here is for quickly loading things. Before I leave this screen, I do want to show you the duplicate option, where you might spend some time assigning the things that you need for a listing, a residential listing, but maybe, there are times when there's a standard listing, or maybe there's one that you use for VIPs or other things that you want to do for different types of products, but they may be similar to something else. You can click on duplicate. It'll duplicate this with another name, just copy, and then you can go in there and modify it that way. So you can have, it's easier to duplicate something if it's the same than to recreate it each time. So we create the group. And once we get that group in there, then we've got this option here called add group. So if, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete this, this entry here. If I come in here, I get a brand new listing and it's a residential listing, I can come over to this add group, add a group, and I'm going to choose my residential listing option. And then at that point, it blasts in all the documents for that group of whatever I've selected that I would typically use in this case, a residential listing. It could be, you know, whatever. Now you might have some additional document types or groups in there for inspections. And, you know, there are certain inspection forms that you would want to use, or, you know, any number of different other types of groups. You can use them for lots of different things. Instead of adding them one at a time, you can just name them and select it real quick. Now, you'll see that 2 of these are red, and that was because we had marked those as being required. All we have to do now is click into the URL. It says that it's required. I type in or paste in the URL, press enter, and then it is no longer red because we've got it. I could do the same thing for disclosures, for lead-based paint, all the different things that are in there, and giving them a name. By doing that, now anytime that I want to include this URL in some kind of email or SMS text message, I can look for a special merge field called external docs, listings, listing agreement. And we're going to show you how that applies. So let me come over here to my templates. And in here, I'm just going to create a new listing template. And maybe I want to do this. Create an email template for new home sellers that includes the external document for listing agreement. New external document link, I should say. Link for listing agreement. Let them know that they can click the link to open or whatever. So I'm going to click on that and let it create some kind of arbitrary document of some sort. Okay, so we're excited to let you know that, hey, you've got this property. Here's the information. Here's the open listing agreement. So if I look and I click on that, you'll see that it's gone ahead and even put in the merge field for me for the listing agreement. You'll see it's an external document. It's in the listing section. It's the listing database, and it's called listing agreement. So it kind of breaks it down into different things. If this was a contact document, it would have external doc, contact, and then whatever. So by doing this, we now have this link and being able to do things with it to send out information. So I can set this up as a routine. The routine then says, hey, on one day after the listing, I want to send this information, and I can send it. I don't need to attach it manually. I don't need to do anything. All I need to do is send it. It knows what the document is by its document name, its type.